Photon HYPERNOVA releases on February 10th. After several products came and went with nothing to challenge the top deck, Konami has finally attempted to print the product we've all been waiting for. A weapon to surpass Tearlaments. Here's... Jaxel.
Huh?
You've got to tell them to subscribe.
For what? I never upload.
Why, for tax evasion purposes, of course.
Oh, okay.
Hi there, I'm JasSpy from the Curry Bandits. MBT doesn't have any opinions on this set, so he's borrowing some of mine. But did you know that only 47% of my viewers are subscribed? This is a disaster for hard-working tax evaders like myself, because fun fact, for every one subscriber that you have on YouTube, they let you evade one tax. According to my mom, the head tax attorney of HSBC, there are over 3,000 taxes. So that means that every person who watched the Blackwing deck check subscribed right now, I could legally move all of my assets to an offshore bank account and never work again. Only you can help me achieve this goal. Only someone as cool and hot as the girl reading this can hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when I have another Yu-Gi-Oh! Funny Moments compilation to share with the class. And if we get to 2,500 subs by the end of February, I'll, do a little dance?
Feliz hasta la muerte, siga así hasta que acabe. El más allá que soñé no está nada mal, me invadió el amor.
Enjoy the video.
Kashtira Riseheart is a level 4 fire warrior that can special summon itself if you control a Kashtira, and can banish a Kashtira card from deck to banish the opponent's top 3 face down and become level 7. Kashtira Scareclaw and Kashtira Tearlament each can summon themselves and banish a card from one of their archetypes as a quick effect. Scareclaw is a super heavy that negates anything that battles a Kashtira, and Tearlament mills 3 from either player on summon, and mills 2 when it's sent to the graveyard. Theosis summons a Kashtira from deck with a different attribute from one you control, and when it's banished, adds a banished Kashtira card back to your hand. Pressured Planet Raysoth searches a Kashtira, boosts all monsters you control by 100 for each different attribute you control, and if you activate a Shangri-Ira's effect, it can pop a card on the field. And finally, Big Bang forces both players to banish all monsters they control except one, and if it's banished, can target a Kashtira Xyz you control, bounce a Kashtira monster attached to it back to hand, and then special summon that monster. These cards do a lot for... Wait, did I forget some? Let me check my notes real quick. Oh, yeah.
A red guy!
Kashtira Riseheart can be summoned with 3 level 7s, or can be made on top of any Kashtira during a turn that Shangri-Ira activates its effect, banishes any card sent to the graveyard, attaches a banished card to it each time a card becomes banished, and can detach 3 to banish a card on the field face down. Yeah, this support does everything. Where the deck formerly struggled to make even one rank 7 without birth or non-engine extenders, now it can easily make 2 or 3 Xyz monsters each turn. But simply more access to the extra wouldn't have been enough. No, they needed a rank 7 truly worth building towards, and Konami couldn't have knocked it further out of the park with a red guy. With a powerful floodgate effect that targets the most important matchup in the game right now, the strongest Dryden effect ever put to paper, and the ability to continuously replenish itself to grind out games until the end of time. Its summoning condition may seem a little involved and not even any less resource intensive than just hard summoning it, but Riseheart puts all these issues to rest by triggering Shangri-Ira turn 1 and letting you banish Big Bang as cost, letting you get a refund on one of its materials, meaning that instead of using 3 materials on board to summon 1, you end up putting 3 materials in and getting 3 monsters back out of it. And most importantly, given that Unicorn into Theosis into Fenrir into Riseheart gets you right into this setup, the deck now has 1-card combos. Just an incredible wave of support that looks primed to give Kashtira the potential to carve out a in the OCG following the severe nerfs to the Ishizu engine, Tearlaments began using this new Kashtira support so that Fenrir and Raysoth could be used as a source of mills to get your plays going via Kashtira Tearlaments. Like Havness, this card lets you start filling your graveyard and summoning your fusions as early as turn 0. This development re-solidified Japan's Tier 0 metagame under the new reign of Kashtira. Shit, the joke didn't land. Play me off, Saz. As for other ways to play Kashtira, some innovations have been done on what to do with the deck's rarely used normal summon, leading people to try things like Alistair or Therizia to add some negation to a board mostly comprised of removal. Further extrapolating, you could forego a normal summon altogether and play Adventure, with perks like Griffin Rider and Illegal Knight being level 7. Also, Raid Raptor Arsenal Falcon is a generic rank 7 that can summon any level 4 winged beast from the deck. The media is trying to cover it up. 4 more years of Barrier Statue. Alright, I'm kinda wiped out after that quick but dense breakdown of Kashtira. We got any fun ones I can blitz through to cool down? Let's see here. Why not? Let's do the Smashing Ground Searcher. Manticore of Smashing can search a Fissure or Smashing Ground once per turn, and can banish a Fissure or Smashing Ground from graveyard to summon itself from graveyard. That's it. Really nothing else to say, I just thought it was fun. Okay, back into the meat of it. Photon Emperor Stove can reborn itself if it's sent to the graveyard except from field, and gives you an extra normal of a light monster. Galaxy Summoner reborns a Photon or Galaxy on summon, and can make a light monster you control level 4. Galaxy 100 mills a Photon or Galaxy card on activation, and if you summon Gept, you can look at your opponent's extra deck and rip a card from it. Galaxy Photon Dragon can detach a material to add or mill a Photon or Galaxy card, and can make a monster level 4 or 8. And Neo Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon, blah 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 blah, gets really big. Some neat stuff to make Galaxy Photon a bit more consistent. Galaxy 100 is a 1-card combo once we get Photon Jumper, that's cool I guess. This support kinda hits the sweet spot right between Neos and Blackwing for being not really a flop, but not a total overhaul of the deck's viability either. It just kinda helps Photon do what it does, and really who am I to complain about that? What trap card? There's no trap card. Gishki Grimness is a level 2 fish that summons a Gishki from deck on summon and can be used as the entire tribute for the ritual summon of a water monster. Focused Aqua Mirror searches a Gishki and banishes itself during the end phase if you control a water ritual to set an Aqua Mirror from deck. Necro Mirror is a ritual spell that can either tribute your monsters or one monster your opponent controls regardless of its level to summon a Gishki ritual, and can place a Gishki monster from graveyard on top of the deck to put itself on the bottom. And Neramanas is a level 10 ritual that can't be destroyed by battle with an extra deck monster, reborns a water on summon, and can bounce a Gishki ritual monster you control to negate the activation of a monster effect and shuffle it back into the deck. Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom. Okay, team, we've already run through every rank 2, link 2, and quick effect synchro in the history of the game, and that weird stint with the level 2 fusions, which we agreed never to speak of again. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is we need new ideas. Something fresh. Something unexpected. How about a level 10 ritual monster? Red, I could kiss you right now, but we don't have mouths. Due to the favorable level of the best summon target by a country mile for Grimness, Gishki became a popular sprite variant in the OCG with the ability to loop Abyss with Grimness and Elf to make Neramanas before committing to your gigantic plays. And if you lead with Focused, you can even set Aqua Mirror Illusion during the end phase to get an extra negate with Neramanas. Meanwhile, Necro Mirror can provide a great follow-up play or going second play, being able to sack off your opponent's boss monster to summon your own. It's not all the way there at the moment, as the only 1-card combo with Grimness requires using Photo Mirror, paying 5,000 life points in this economy. But especially in the TCG, where we have all the sprites at 3, the odds of finding one for extension are high enough that this shouldn't be an issue. Also worth noting that this deck has multiple synergies with Vaylantz. As water monsters, you're able to use the Gishkis to summon Marincess Coral Anemone to get yet another Abyss activation while locking yourself into water, so when you use Vaylantz later in the turn, not only can you loop the same copy of Abyss for yet another search, you also get to clear your opponent's board of any non-water monsters which you won't be able to summon back due to the lock. Basiltrice, Familiar of the Evil Eye, can summon itself from hand or graveyard if you control an Evil Eye, and during your opponent's turn lets you link summon an Evil Eye, which can include Evil Eye equip spells you control as material. Evil Eye Unleashed sends both an Evil Eye monster and an Evil Eye spell or trap for cost to search an Evil Eye equip spell, but burns you for 500 whenever you activate a non-Evil Eye card for the rest of the turn. And when you summon an Evil Eye link, it can banish itself to equip an Evil Eye equip spell to it from graveyard. This is excellent support for Evil Eye, giving them an unbelievable consistency tool in Unleashed, a potential +3 with Basiltrice and Gorgoneo as your mills, as well as setups for a turn 1 Zerziel, Evil Eye's strongest boss monster that until now could take multiple turns of setup to make. With Zerziel and Domain, you almost always have easy access to Unleashed and your strongest end board. Especially given the deck's strong synergies with Labrynth, it wouldn't surprise me to see the deck find its footing as a decent rogue option. And if that doesn't work out, well, Evil Eye Labrynth was already good in Rogue's format without the support, so I guess you'll all just have to join us there. Vala, Satyr of the Generaider bosses, can pitch a Generaider card from hand to summon itself from hand or graveyard, and on summon lets you summon another Generaider from hand or graveyard. Levitain, Generaider Boss of Shadows, is a rank 9 that lowers all your opponent's monsters by 1,000 and contribute itself as a quick effect to summon a different Generaider Xyz from extra and attach materials from either field or graveyard to it. The Doppelgang truly has lost today because Generaider has a new and improved way to get bosses out of your hand. Vala alleviates the deck's bricking problem by not only getting your level 9s out of your hand and onto the field or graveyard, but also by being the first level 9 in the archetype that you don't mind drawing. It also gives you a viable way to make rank 9s turn 1, and even though they don't make them like they used to, there's still a few good ones, like Levitain, a strong interruption that can remove monsters during your opponent's combo setups, part of their back row for set 5 pass decks, or fodder from your opponent's graveyard for the hellscape that we're currently living through. Oh boy, time to talk about Gold Pride. You know, my favorite part of these meticulously researched videos that I spend months planning is talking about the cards that I only get maybe one day to read and determine the important parts of. Surely I won't forget anything. Gold Prides each summon themselves if your life points are lower than your opponent's. Leon summons a Gold Pride from graveyard on summon in quick synchros. Carry searches a Gold Pride trap. And Nitro Head summons a token to your opponent's field and then can pop it during your opponent's turn and any cards and zones adjacent to it. Star Leon is a level 6 synchro that can target a monster your opponent controls, gain its attack, then pop it if you have lower life points. During the end phase, if you use that effect, it goes back to the extra and then summons Leon from deck or graveyard. Crowd Goes Wild adds a Gold Pride to hand, then summons a Gold Pride from your hand and burns you for its attack. Start Your Engines is a trap card that activates when your opponent summons, lets you reveal 3 Gold Prides from deck, randomly adds 1 to your hand, then pops the summoned monster. The nature of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just that every so often they try to reinvent Dryden. For what it's worth, this is one of the less convoluted. A generic Synchro 6 that just needs you on lower life is pretty reasonable. My concern is that the deck really is quite mid at making it. Leon only summons from graveyard, so if you only open him and carry, you'll need some way to burn yourself to make their summon effects live. Right now, the deck's only way of doing that is Crowd Goes Wild, the clear standout in power level, by the way, but that can already summon from hand, so making their effects live is kind of redundant. Confusing oversight not giving them more ways to get the deck's own gimmick started, but that just means we'll have to get a bit more creative. Punks can lower your life points and also enjoy having the extra level 3s and 8s to make an extra level 11 synchro. Foxy Tune can discard carry so you can later summon it with Leon, but be aware you'll be locked from that point on. This concept would be kinda cool if you didn't just have to draw 2 or more Gold Pride cards to do anything with them, but if they get a strong second wave of support, this deck has a lot of potential. This deck has a lot of potential. You want to talk about some insects? There's some weird giant ballpark support in this set. A lot of it is just battle tricks that are kinda eh. Giant Ball Game at the least is reborn on activation. Ultimate Great Insect would be good if it didn't say during the battle phase. Variant is a level 3 insect tuner that can summon itself if there's an insect or plant in the grave and can be treated as a non-tuner if you need it to. And Circle of the Fairies gives you an extra normal summon of an insect or plant. Thankfully, this is the type of normal summon that you can stack with Armor Horn, so at least that's not a nombo. B-Gram is like a Doom Dozer with an effect that will come up sometimes, makes all your spells and traps spell speed 4, and wipes your opponent's field, but needs to banish 3 instead of 2. I'm speeding through these because I think they're neat, but I don't think they matter. This statement is true of a lot of this set. Diabolantis, the Menacing Mantis, can mill insect or plant monsters up to the number of its non-tuner materials on summon, and can make an insect or plant into a tuner for the turn. What Jeff Jones said. Geo the Gravity Ninja is a level 8 that Book of Moons 2 monsters when it's summoned or flipped, and when another monster is flipped face up, can pop an opponent's card. Yaguramaru is a fusion that you can either hard fuse or just tribute the materials from field, and on summon or flip, banishes a ninja or ninjutsu art to banish a card on the field. Konami, you sly bastards, you hid the payoffs in the next set. Like a ninja! A genius maneuver. With cards like Mitsu and Mazen, there's a lot of ways to use both of Geo's effects at quick speed, and with Tobari you can also use Yaguramaru on your opponent's turn for a total of 3 forms of quick play removal. Good to see Konami really did have a plan for these nerds after all, instead of just throwing flip in the card text and seeing what happens. Huge news for people who only have one joke, they made an Earthship. Plunder Patrol Ship Jord is a pendulum synchro that can search a Plunder card when your opponent special summons, and then if it has a Plunder card equipped, can summon a Plunder from deck. Also, you can put it from field to the Pendulum Zone to add a Plunder card from graveyard back to hand. As a spell, it can bounce itself to extra to give each player a Plunder Patrol token of any attribute. Not only does this plug up one of the obvious support vacuums the deck had, it also smooths over quite a lot of the deck's issues, giving you the means to accumulate advantage necessary to keep your other ships live, and providing a new way to get the ship you want to make sure you're not so reliant on booty. It's even generic, so you could play something like a Punk Engine to make it, which would have the added benefit of letting you discard a Plunder like Whitebeard to trigger its effect, and have a target engraved for its second effect. Also, a little birdie told me there's level 8 Fiend support in our immediate future, so that could be kinda funny. Big Welcome Labrynth summons a Labrynth from hand, deck, or graveyard, then bounces a monster you control to the hand. Also, you can banish it from the graveyard to bounce a Fiend you control, or monster your opponent controls if you control a level 8 or higher Fiend. See, that's called foreshadowing. This card adds a lot of really strong plays to Labrynth's arsenal, being a much more flexible form of Welcome Labrynth's summon effect and Labrynth's reborn effect. The mandatory bounce isn't so bad of a restriction, since you can use it as a way to reuse the Ariane you summoned, a copy of Stovey that summoned itself, or a Lady Labrynth that can just immediately resummon itself as you've just activated a Labrynth card. Furthermore, this self-bounce counts as a monster leaving the field by a normal trap effect, meaning it triggers several of your own effects. And with cards like Lady and Lovely, the graveyard effect is very easy to make live, making the card both a great advantage tool and a great disruption. Interestingly, this did prove effective, as Labrynth did jump quite a ways in playability after Photon HYPERNOVA, utilizing Big Welcome as well as another card from the set, Waybridge, a normal trap that forces your opponent like evenly matched to send monsters they control to the graveyard so they only control one. Like Torrential Tribute, this card works wonders as both a disruption and board breaker, but lets you keep your own board, meaning it works way better in conjunction with cards like Lovely. Arctos the 12th, XD 69420, and Knuckles, Chronochasm Vaylantz, is a fusion pendulum that can be summoned by tributing 2 level 5 or higher Vaylantz that can swap the zones of either 2 monsters you control or 2 monsters your opponent controls. And when a card moves from one zone to another, you can pop a card on the field. A couple of cards have trigger effects when they're moved that could be used as a form of disruption, but the deck has no means of moving between monster zones as a quick effect, a type of interruption that would have been such an easy include in a deck this focused on these types of effects.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.
God, this patches up so much wrong with this deck. For one thing, the deck now has a form of disruption that's unique to them and feasible to get out. Mamonaka was supposed to be that for this deck, but its interruption wasn't very good and it was a pain in the ass to summon. This is just a nice, simple, non-targeting pop that it can trigger by itself, no annoying frills for flavor. But actually, it does have some frills, because the move effect is extremely strong. If you can make this card earlier in your combo, its effect can swap the positions of cards like Shinonome and Viscount to trigger their effects and move your combo forward, while the pop effect can be used to remove your Koenig Vissen from the field before your opponent can use it against you. Meanwhile, on your opponent's turn, moving cards like Scion, Duke, or Hojo can trigger 2 more removal effects. Since they all have to be used at once, this sort of interruption can be tricky to control, but if you time the move right, you can launch a powerful combo attack on your opponent's board. God fucking damn it, I like Vaylantz now. Yeah, no Runic card this time. The rest of Tama eats first. You can have what's left of Sprite. Choju of the Trillion Hands is a level 6 light fairy that adds both a ritual monster and a ritual spell on summon. Powerful effect, of course, held back by its level, but there's some fun ways to work around it. Obvious one is to try and special summon it with something like Celestial Knight Parshaf, or maybe you could try a Pendulum Summon. I hear those guys have a ritual monster now. Easiest answer to those, of course, Drytron, which can easily make tribute fodder by resolving any of their names, and search Choju by tributing Benten for cost. And if you summon Benten, tributing it for Choju will let you get a 3rd search on the same chain. Once it hits the field, its level lines up perfectly to make a rank 6 like Beatrice or Wallow in such a way that's printed on the card rather than dependent on its effect resolving like Diviner. A lot of surprisingly favorable attributes to a card you wouldn't expect. Gravekeeper's Inscription gives you a choice of either making both players unable to activate card effects in the graveyard, unable to banish from the graveyard, or unable to summon from the graveyard until the end of the next turn. I have never seen a card try to tell Tyr to shut the fuck up this hard. It competes for space with other floodgates already in existence that serve the same function of giving you some peace and quiet from Chainlink 2 Havness, and its restriction to the start of the main phase makes it far less flexible, but being a lingering effect at least makes it impervious to removal. Everything is on fire. Dogmatika Alba, Jesus Christ, what the hell is that thing? Motherfucker looks like Deadpool got head from Voldemort. Fucking Guillermo del Toro and Junji Ito's non-fungible love child looking ass. Boy looks like a wax Sephiroth melted in the sun. Out here with that biblically accurate Jack Skellington aesthetic, on God. Alright, anyway. You know what? Actually, I got one more on me. We finally know what Squidward would look like if he was possessed by Shiny Mega Gengar and got into Gene Simmons. Okay, I'm done. Dogmatika ALBAZ makes all your Dogmatikas unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's extra deck monsters, and can force your opponent to either return all extra deck monsters they control to the extra deck, or send one card from their hand or extra deck to the graveyard for every 2 cards in their extra deck. It also extra decks your opponent's extra deck. Dogmatika Matrix adds either a Dogmatika ritual spell or ritual monster to hand, then if your opponent controls a monster, you can also add any Dogmatika card. Also, if you control a Dogmatika ritual, you can rip a card from your opponent's extra deck once per turn. These cards are very cool support for ritual Dogmatika, with Matrix being a crazy consistency piece, and Zoa being a fantastic payoff, giving your whole board protection, and ripping your opponent's resources to shreds from the very beginning of the game. Unfortunately, I can't recommend letting your opponent pick cards from their hand and extra deck to send to the graveyard by a card effect in the current metagame, so sad to say, now's not really his time. Bystial Baldrake is a Bystial. They made another Bystial. You can now play 12 Bystials. Also, if your opponent summons a Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster, you contribute another light or dark monster to banish the summoned monster. They made another Bystial. Saronir Gang lost big today because there's a new third best Bystial. While its effect is strong, it only really shines when you go first or draw multiple light or dark hand traps that summon themselves to give you tribute fodder. They made another Bystial. I am about to talk about an Icejade card, but please try to pay attention anyway. Icejade Gamir Agarine has a quick effect to give all monsters you control protection from being destroyed or banished for the turn. Then, if the effect was chained to an opponent's card or effect, you can banish all cards on the field or graveyard with that name. It's a quick effect banish, it just takes a while to get to the point. Your opponent activates Kitkalos, you chain Gamir, banish the Kitkalos, and your board has some protection for the turn. The protection is nice, but man, did they do everything in their power to obscure the fact that they made a good Icejade. And even though it's not generic, water tuners aren't the most hard to come by, taking for example Sword Soul tokens. I think it's really funny that this character exists to hand Longwan yet another L in the lore, yet Longwan is one of the easiest ways to summon it. Giga Chad Champion Sargass can be summoned on top of any Springans Xyz, can search a Springans or Therion once per turn, and if a material is detached from an Xyz monster, either bounces or destroys a card on the field. Tally-Ho Springans is a quick play that searches a Springans, and if you choose to detach up to 3 materials from a monster you control as cost, can summon the same number of Springans from hand or graveyard. Now you all know me. I'm a firm believer in the Sargass sweep. And with these cards, not only can we confirm that Sargass soloed the entire Sprite and Therion archetypes, giving them the highest KD ratio in the entire storyline, but also we finally have a solid game plan for Springans. Not only do they provide incredible search power, but Tally-Ho can easily convert every Springans ability to attach itself into extension, making it into their own searchable soul charge. This gives them the level 4 spam capabilities to consistently make things like Dweller and UDF. And to bring out Captain Sargass, which can be paired with any Xyz monster for a Dryden effect. And all of this comes along Champion Sargass, which has a powerful interruption effect in its own right that can be triggered by anything from your generic Xyz, Sargass, or a set Tally-Ho. And that's not to mention what you can do with the other half of its search power, giving you access to the entire Therion lineup. Regulus, of course, pairs wonderfully with the machine-based Springans archetype, but think bigger than that. Merrymaker is a generic rank 4, meaning that any deck with the capacity to put 2 level 4s on the board could reasonably search Regulus or whatever Therion they'd prefer. With Merrymaker and Sargass being machines, all it'd take is linking off Sargass to make Regulus live even in a deck as far removed from machines as possible. So for the cost of 2 extra deck slots and 1 main deck slot, there's now functionally a generic rank 4 Omni-Negate. Tri-Brigade Arms Bucephalus II is a link 5 that can only be summoned from the extra deck if you have 3 or more Tri-Brigade back row in your graveyard, protects all your summons from being responded to, clears your opponent's board when an attack is declared, and if it's sent to the graveyard, you can send any Tri-type from your extra deck to the graveyard. The summoning restriction is annoying for Tri-Brigade, as over the course of their competitive history, they've barely even acknowledged more than 2 of the archetypes back row at a time. But what's interesting about this card is that it changes the dynamics on some of Dogmatika's extra deck mill cards that are concerned with the attack of the monster they mill. For a card like Punishment, you'd often need to sacrifice the ability to trigger strong effects in exchange for the ability to get over monsters with high attack stats. Something like Guardian Chimera would often require you to send a useless card like 5-Headed Dragon just to get rid of it. With Bucephalus' 3500 attack, you can contest huge monsters while still getting an extra upside with the effect of Garura. Rinbrum, the Striking Dragon, is a winged beast just to bother Saws that you can summon by fusing ALBAZ with any Tri-type, and can negate an effect activated by an extra deck monster, then optionally bounce any monster on the field to the hand. Also, if both it and ALBAZ are in the graveyard during your opponent's turn, you can banish one and summon the other. Grand Guignol, the Dusk Dragon, is a spellcaster, because fuck you. Materials Cartesia plus a light or dark, on summon it mills a level 6 or higher light or dark from deck or extra deck, and if your opponent summons a monster by a monster effect, it can banish itself from field or graveyard to to summon a Dogmatika from deck or Despia from extra deck. These cards are a huge boost to Branded's ceiling, giving them a powerful monster negate and quick play ALBAZ effect with Rin Brum, and a powerful tool for extension with Guignol. Since Rin Brum can be summoned with Mercurier, you can do some cool things like using Fusion to send ALBAZ and Merc, then using Branded and White, fusing them again, this time into Lubellion, to make Mirror Jade and trigger Merc's search effect. Also, if you have both Mirror Jade and Rin Brum, you can use Mirror to send Albion, then use Rin Brum to negate the effect, but choose not to bounce anything, meaning that you get the Albion search during the end phase, but don't have to banish any of your own board, and your Mirror Jade's banish effect remains live on your opponent's turn. This also combos well with the Bystials, as they have the ability to banish Mercurier so you can search Kit or Cartesia and keep extending your plays, and also after negating Mirror Jade you can bounce that very same Bystial back to your hand so you can use it on your opponent's turn. Guignol also opens up a lot of very interesting possibilities with its highly generic mill effect. Of course, the most notable options are the ALBAZ fusions, which will trigger during the end phase and can be used as a fusion material for Mirror Jade, but you can also send things like the Bystial Lubellion, which contribute off a Bystial to summon itself and get Branded Beast onto your board. You can even do dumb shit like mill Jinzo, set Expulsion, make your opponent with a hand of 5 trap cards cry. Its second effect is cool too, if a little limited. Despite being known for its extremely strong extra deck plays, Despia proper only has 2 extra deck monsters at the moment, and they're not exactly end board material. Proskenion is a conditional DD Crow for what it's worth, and Quiritis can make your board a lot more resistant to the battle phase. On the other side of things, summoning an Ecclesia on your opponent's turn and searching Fleur could add a non-targeting imperm to your board, which could be nice, but likely not worth the main deck space. Tearlaments Perlegia is mid. It gives Tearlaments and fusion monsters an extra 500 attack, and if an Aqua-type Tearlament is sent to the graveyard, you can mill a level 4 or lower Aqua from deck, but can't activate that card unless it's a tier. An extra targeted mill isn't bad, but it's not groundbreaking, so currently this card's only real use is for the purpose of milling King of the Swamp if you're aiming to make Grapha, as the fusion substitute effect doesn't need to activate. I'm just glad there's finally a tier card I don't have to be upset about, so I can get back to the part of tier that's most important and personal to me, simping for Shayren.
Can't swim, so I took a boat to an island so remote. Only Johnny Depp has ever been to it before. Oh, beauty in the water, angel on the beach, ocean's daughter. I thought love was out of reach till I got her. Had I known it could come true, would have wished in 92 for a mermaid just like you. Whoa, just like you. Whoa.
Rippy Bits, Trivikarma, negates a monster your opponent controls if you control Vsauce, and can be banished from the graveyard to search a card that mentions Visa. Oh my god, would you stop it? People wonder why this deck just won't die in the OCG, and it's because of things like this. They just keep giving it more gas. Perlareno at 1, oh well, better sleeve up my salvation without the brick, it's madness. Triple Testicle Talent, Triple Tactics Penis, Triple Tactics Insertion, Triple Tactics Thrust, no I swear that's the real one, like its predecessor can be activated during a turn in which your opponent has activated a monster effect to set 1 normal spell or trap from your deck to your field that can't be activated this turn, or add it to your hand if your opponent controls a monster.
Jesus Christ. He's insane!
I don't need to tell you how absurdly powerful an effect like this is. Getting to punish your opponent for firing hand traps you can play through by setting traps like a pointer, baiting your opponent's negates going second to search out a board breaker, or leveraging cards like Havnus or Nibiru as a way to add a piece of crucial extension to hand. With the existence of Terraforming, this card searches any field spell. With Small World, it can pretty much search any monster, and if you're out of your mind, you can use goddamn Silent Wobby to make it live on your own. With the over 2,000 possible search targets, it's damn near impossible to name everything you can do with this card. Well, maybe impossible for some people. And now, against my better judgment and the concerns of my moderators, I present to you Every Tasking Target. Instant emergence, torrential impermanence, reborn Raigeki desires. Dark ruler foolish, and overload fusion, a pointer engage into Myas. Machine duplication, polymerization, reincarnation compulse. Manifestation and deck devastation. Water full of dragon souls, branded fusion illusion, the huge revolution. Prosperity tuning Nadir. Rhoda industrial utopia buster, talents and Aramesir. Bottoms and Gothams and Hillary Rodham. Okay, that one was just for the rhyme. Blackout and Crystal Bond, Foolish Goods, 1-for-1, Rhoda, or Mutant Cry. Mining regression, Subterra succession, evenly terraforming. Mind crushing, mind control, small worlds reprieving, soul karma, Katsark and storming. There's Starlight Road, Phoenix, Wing Traps and Unreasoning, Avarice, Summoner's Art. Duality, Brigandine, Ice Dragon, Egotist. Paleos, Ghastly, Kashiko, and Rainbow Bridge, Lost Within Breakthrough, Skill, Big Evolution, Bill Sassword, Pick Up and Upstart. Alright, is that all of them? Not even 10%? Not even
5% off any singles or sealed product. Click the affiliate links in the description and use code SEMO5.
That was, I think, way more than everything you needed to know. I have lost my fucking mind. Thank you for watching, and a special thank you to all my patrons. And finally, an important message to my moderators. If I ever write an 11-page script again, kill me.